Well, hello, everybody. Thank you again for coming to join us here on another high takeaway value episode of How Outsourcing Works, focusing really on small to medium businesses. Brad Stevens here, your host, founder, and CEO of Outsource Access. Got an incredible crew out of the Philippines that we grew to 500 people in 4.5 years, supporting 85 different industries, and just love sharing the journey and the story of how it has helped, a lot of small to medium businesses redefine how they scale. And this entire series is all about, going beyond top of funnel, right? We know that the whole world of offshoring and outsourcing and virtual assistants exists, and there's a million what I call word bubbles that pop up people's heads when you say those words. But the next question is like, how does this actually work? Like, what can these people actually do from another country, and how can they be a part of my life day to day and the real impact that they can make? So got a guest on here, Mr. Tripp Guin, that will be a fantastic insight for us. He's been a long-term, friend and relationship through EO Entrepreneurs Organization, and one of the first people that kind of had a chance to hear me speak on this topic a number of years ago. And so going to be excited to kind of share a little bit his journey. God, he was one of the first people. He's been with over 5 years now. Back in 2019, we launched, actually going our 6th-year anniversary. So Tripp, thanks for being with us, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And Tripp's got a ton of insight in the whole, real estate, commercial real estate world. And we'll kind of get more a little bit on his background and insight and, his intersection with the world of offshoring and virtual assistants. And I appreciate Tripp. He was actually the one that got me a chance to speak for some of the big commercial real estate conferences, the SIOR conference, which is the top, I think, 5% of commercial real estate brokers that are out there. And I spoke at their global conference in Washington, D.C., actually right when we started launching the company back in 2019, right before the world shut down. So thanks so much to Tripp for being a supporter and advocate, and you give me an opportunity to speak and educate within the commercial real estate space, and led to us getting a lot of, clients and opportunities there. But excited to hear about your specific, journey. But as always, we kick off giving you guys a quick win, a quick endorphin hit of like a tool resource podcast that, myself and the guests has kind of listened to, because look, there's always some new thing or tool or resource that's coming out. So we'll kick off, and Tripp was telling me kind of the one he wanted to share here. And, sometimes it's good to just like have a little levity in your life when got a lot of crazy things that are going on. So Tripp, what was that podcast that you had shared?
Oh yeah, it's called Second Date Update. It's just when I need a break from reality. I work pretty hard and pretty long hours. So sometimes when I'm driving somewhere or just taking a break, I'll listen to this thing. It's a radio station out of Seattle, and it's hilarious. They basically follow up on after a first date when someone didn't get a response, and the responses are just absolutely hilarious. So it's a great way to break the monotony up of the work world. Some other things I've done, or the 4-Hour Work Week is a book that I've read. I love Joe Rogan's podcasts. I'm trying to get into traction in EOS. What the heck is EOS? So that's the next big book and helpful tool I'll be using.
Oh, thanks for shares. It's sometimes we just need that kind of the mindless humor and just kind of listen to kind of bring a laugh, especially those of us who are intense, hardworking. Not that any of those folks listening aren't some crazy A-type maniacs like a lot of us are, and sometimes it's fun. So yeah, second date update sounds like it's kind of like Jerky Boys, where they kind of will call the person why they never called the person back after the second date and like demand an explanation, and they kind of do it in front of everybody.
Yep, exactly right.
Sounds hilarious.
It is.
And funny you mentioned 4-Hour Work Week. It's one of those that actually, it's funny you share that, because that's one of the books that I bring up when I speak on this topic around virtual assistants and outsourcing. And because that's a lot of people's reference point, back, 20 years ago is, everybody read, asked people to raise their hands. I'm like, how many people read, Tim Ferriss, 4-Hour Work Week. And, but the great thing is it gave insight into like what's possible when you can kind of tap into this global, nature of individuals out there with great talent in different parts of the world. But it also kind of painted a little bit as a novelty, right? That it's kind of like, hey, you can find these people and they just magically will kind of like do your job for you, which is a little bit of, a misnomer in terms of like what it takes to be successful in this journey, as you've learned, and with Emily that you've worked with from our team here at Outsource Access.
Yeah, Emily's awesome.
It does take a two-way, right? Well, appreciate it. I know she'll enjoy hearing, but it's a two-way street, right? It's like, it takes time on your end to kind of invest and educate, and on her end to kind of build the skills to kind of support you in the, in the journey. So, in EOS, we run EOS, and couldn't be a bigger believer in that. Whatever framework you use, whether it's scaling up or EOS or Bloom Growth, those are critical for business success. And a quick tactical tool I'll share real quick is one called QSO.ai, QUSO.ai. It used to be video.ai, but QSO.ai look, at the end of the day, right, is we're all trying to do things, and content is so critical, right? Being able to produce content at scale and get it out there. That's what's driven so much of our business at Outsource Access is that we are producing tons of content on all the social channels, just like this podcast and other things at scale. But it's about getting that content, being able to chop it down, get into small bite sizes. Like when we do this episode here, like with Tripp, right? We'll produce this episode, and then we got to chop it down into a bunch of smaller bite-sized pieces that we will put out as kind of little drips, leading to the actual episode. And so QSO.ai, you upload it, and it'll actually take a full-size video, chop it up into all the small pieces, put the transcriptions on it, pull out the transcriptions, take it and make a snippet AI, like written copy to go along with it, turn it into LinkedIn posts, Facebook posts, and all of it. And you can click a button, and it'll push it all out for you. So it's a pretty cool tool that does automation of videos and content to kind of get it dialed in that you can use for bite-sized stuff to push out from a social standpoint.
Yep.
I'll put all these in the show notes as well, but there's a lot of zillion AI tools coming out every second out there these days, but those are two that are helpful. So we'll jump in real quick now, and we'll just first kind of dive in a little bit more about Tripp and sort of his background and kind of give context for everybody. And then we'll have him kind of jump in and start sharing his experience in working with Emily, his virtual assistant and from Outsource Access he's had a chance to work with. And look, I mean, obviously this is our reference point and clients and people we've worked with and so forth. But look, there's a lot of great outsourcing companies out there. And our encouragement is just whatever path you go down, whatever company you choose, we just encourage you to go down the path because of the game-changing impact it can make, for you, as we'll hear through Chip's examples. But let's kick off, Tripp. Just give a little background on yourself and kind of what led you into the whole real estate world and kind of where you sit now.
Yeah, long story short, I started out of college selling copiers and got real good at cold calling and networking and walking in, knocking on doors. And doing that led me to office furniture sales, which is kind of the next rung up, in my opinion, where you go from selling a one-piece copier to furnishing an entire office. So the revenue that comes with furnishing an entire office is a lot better than the revenue from doing one copier, right? So I started trying to figure out what was the trigger for office furniture. Well, I started to figure out that it was a move or a relocation. So I started networking with like Business Journal article reporters, and I started networking with commercial real estate brokers. And in doing that, I decided to start my own company. I called Salesforce Partners and Referral Resource, and that was a company where vendors pay me to find deals for them and produce leads. I'm actually thinking about reinventing that, which I will be using Emily to help with if I do, forming like a leads list of companies moving, right? So one of the things I did was I found companies before they were even looking at moving. So I found a company that was moving 20,000 square feet of office space, and they ended up, I ended up referring them to Trammell Crow Company. And Trammell Crow ended up doing the deal. They ended up saying, well, hey, this is great. Can you come work for us and find deals for us? So I did, and I ended up going there as a business development broker. And within a month, I got promoted to working with a team, and did that for 8 years before starting my own firm, focusing only on tenant representation. And so Trammell Crow got acquired by CBRE, and then I started my own shop in 2012. So 13 years in now of doing corporate tenant rep. We work in the Carolinas and Georgia. We're based in the Carolinas and Georgia, but I do work all over the country through SIOR that you mentioned earlier. Gives me global depth and breadth to reach out. I've done deals in Germany. I've done deals in Mexico. I've done deals in Hawaii and Alaska, all over the U.S., and hoping to expand that, do further. So just got appointed to the global board of SIOR starting October for 2 years. So that'll hopefully help me get to know even more people around the world. I'm going to be the chapter liaison to all the boards, all the chapters in the world with the global board. And so that's kind of what I do, just focus on the tenant side, and then trying to just help people with their space needs post-COVID.
I appreciate it. Well, congratulations on that. I know it's a big honor. I mean, and share everybody kind of what SIOR is. I mean, it represents, the top tier people in the industry, right?
It really does. It's SIOR, Society of Industrial and Office Realtors. So it's coined as the top 5% of commercial brokers. And obviously there's, different markets have different levels of people who are in them. But the Carolinas chapter is actually the largest chapter in the world. And it really is the who's who of commercial real estate brokers. To get in it, you have to have certain revenue production, certain education, and certain amount of experience to be in the group. So that way, when I'm calling on brokers in other markets, I know that I'm calling the best of the best. I'm not just calling some junior guy to do a deal. And that helps me with my pitch to corporate clients who do multi-market business, as well as clients that are friends that I'm trying to refer deals to in other markets.
Yeah, so it's like a big global network. I mean, similar to the Entrepreneurs Organization that you and I met through kind of initially, and YPO, which I joined a couple of years ago. I mean, it's being a part of these organizations that you're connected with, creates relationship and connection and opportunity, and it's part of what as I'm sure you'll share, like having a virtual assistant. A lot of people join organizations, and there's tons of relationships and different chat boards and groups you can be a part of, but it's hard to take advantage of all of it, right? And I know that's one of the things that my VA really helps me a ton with in organizations that I'm in, is she helps me stay in touch with relationships and reach out and connect so I can make the most out of organizations I'm a part of. But to throw Tripp promo here, this is his website, and you go to trippcommercial.com and check out kind of all that he's doing. And
hopefully you guys remember that y'all did that website for me. That's the first thing we did, was the website.
Well, I wasn't going to lead the witness, but hey, it's been a while. I mean, 2019 since we came together, so I didn't realize. I forget. Yeah. That's right. That was, now you're jogging the old memory. I remember this was an initial project.
Yeah. We you guys helped us get it done through maybe, I don't know if it was a third party or what, but it was they did a great job, and we've expanded it and changed it a couple times, and they've done a good thing. Now we actually have an Atlanta office, but it's separate from Tripp Commercial. It's called Core Reps. So it's great. Yeah, but the website, I get so many compliments on it, and it was done very efficiently. And it's actually what got my attention when you spoke at EO in Charlotte when I first joined EO. Really back in 2018 maybe. So it's been great. It's been great.
And here's the SIOR group as well that he was referencing. And this is, thanks to Tripp, this is one of the organizations I got a chance to go speak at their global conference in DC a number of years back, and share a bunch of case studies and examples, of how VAs can have a huge impact for, particularly folks that are sitting in, in Tripp's position and beyond, but the impact in terms of ROI, when you look at, the commissions and opportunities for deals, being able to do things at scale and relationship management at scale, which is a lot of what Tripp's doing, along with kind of RFPs and coordination, logistics, and so forth. So that's helpful for everybody to kind of, get a sense of, what those worlds kind of look like. I'll pull that down here real quick.
Yep.
And so given sort of what your world is, and everybody knows me kind of from our background, and, got a chance to intersect. And I did it, a lot of my world was educating in this whole world. My last company, we manufactured and distributed teeth whitening products. When I joined, Entrepreneurs Organization, we first met so many years ago, and I started using offshore to grow and build that company and built a knowledge base. And we sold that business. I had EO chapters ask me to come speak and educate on it. And I would just share case studies and examples, and just, similar to like what we're doing today, right? I mean, I'm still doing it, because when it comes to this world, people just are not sure what they're capable of and what people can do. And so by showing those examples and case studies, it kind of turns people's, kind of connects the dots, for folks in that process. So, so I guess we'll dive in now, and kind of, so Emily is VA that's been working for you for many years. And so if you kind of run through your world and think about kind of the day-to-day activities that kind of consume your time, because at the end of the day, I mean, someone in your situation, I mean, time is money more than ever, right? I mean, Tripp, the more Tripp can be, where is the highest and best use of Tripp's time and value, the better. So you can kind of outline for kind of the listeners, as much specific example as you can on exactly what are the types of things that she's doing that are kind of driving impact for you in terms of saving your time, driving, revenue opportunities, helping with efficiency, costs, and so forth.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to be clear, I am an entrepreneur and I do own the company, but I am an employee. I am not the CEO delegating to everybody, in the sense of I have to go to appointments, I have to make calls. So what I use Emily for is to get back my time. And I've really been impressed. I mean, she's really come a long way too. And anything in the beginning that wasn't done correctly is because I didn't instruct her correctly. You tried to get me to do the video things. I didn't do a good job of that. All these things, tools you gave me, I was just too stupid, too old to figure out. But Emily was able to learn how to work with me in my way. And so she really took that on. And we were both okay with figuring things in the beginning. For example, comparative analysis. When I send out RFPs to companies, which also Emily puts together, I have templates, and then she'll take and go look up the information. She'll even go look up the brokers I'm sending them to and email them to them for me. I have an email that's Tripp Guin at Tripp Commercial. My email is Tripp at Tripp Commercial. So she'll send from that email, send out my RFPs for me. And then when they respond to that, it comes back to the Tripp at Tripp Commercial email. So she actually sends out introductory emails for me, prospecting emails for me, all from me. But when they respond to those, they come to my personal email, so then I can take it from there. So she takes that beginning stage grunt work, time-consuming pieces off. She sends out RFPs. I get those back, and when I get them back, I send them to her to do a comparative analysis, where she takes the nuts and bolts of the RFP, puts them into a spreadsheet I gave her, and then over time, she'd send it to me. She'd do the hour of data entry or 2 hours of data entry. I'd take 5 minutes to look over it, catch a few things that maybe need to be tweaked. She'd go back and tweak it. And after several times of doing the tweaks, I don't have to tweak them anymore. They're accurate every time, right? So it's just a matter of learning how the real estate industry and learning how I handle the real estate industry, right? So she does that. Other things she does, I use old school CRM. I read a lot of articles, a lot of business journal articles, newspaper articles, podcasts. I'll send them to her and say, schedule a follow-up email, schedule a follow-up call, or I'll put in ACT, which is my CRM, which again is very old school. I will put Emily. I have a standard drop down. I put that says, Emily, please send introductory email and schedule follow-up. It's just a drop down. So I have like 20 of those today. So she'll schedule those and do all those today, and then she'll synchronize with my database. And then tomorrow there'll be different ones for her to follow up on, and she'll reschedule as a follow-up call on the email. So then I'll say, hey, we sent you an email last week. I want to follow up on that and introduce myself, and I'll do my thing. And it saves me all that front end work prepping. She also goes into Zoom info for me. If I have a newspaper article that gets posted, about somebody moving, maybe they moved in today. Well, I'll put them in, and she'll gather all the right information. I'll schedule a call for 6 months or a year from now and say, hey, I saw you move last year. How did that go? How was the process? Would you have done anything differently? I'd love to meet you, come see your space. And the hope is over the next 5 to 7 years before their lease expires, I will build that relationship. We put them on a newsletter email blast that she's put together that you guys helped train her on. She's starting to get, I think, trained in EOS and running EOS. So just the basics of it. So we're going to get her to help us run meetings and things like that. She does everything, man. Like imagine a wheelbarrow behind me, and I'm just doing this the whole time, throwing them back there, and she's back there trying to catch it. And then she'll ask me questions, and I'll be slow to respond, and she'll pepper me with, hey, I need you to answer this before I can do it. Then she'll text me on WhatsApp, hey, are you going to answer this? And like, she knows that I need to be pushed, and she knows I'm not going to, if I don't do it, it'll just drop. So she has gotten to where she follows up with me. And we had a call the other day, and she's like, are you joining this call? And I said, no, I'm not going to join the call. I don't have time to do it, but I'm too busy, blah, blah. And because I had been told by the people I didn't need to join the call. And then 5 minutes later, she texts me again. She goes, well, I need you to check your email because we need to, so she pushed me to go do that. And I had to forward her like a code. And so, she just owned me. And that's what my personality needs. And I'm sure there's other people who are different that do it differently. But I think that's the beautiful thing is, even if in the past I did have other folks before Emily that maybe needed coaching more than she does, and I could reach out to Brad and his folks and say, hey, do I need to switch people, or can I coach this? And I didn't have to deal with my person. I talked to their manager. Then the manager took them aside and coached them on how to do things better, more accurately, that I didn't have to spend my time doing, which is why I didn't go on some of these other Yahoo websites where you get somebody working out of their garage and they don't have any managerial hierarchy in the organization. And that's one of the big things I always tell people about when I'm talking about Outsource Access, is that there's a hierarchy there that people that, if my person's out and I really need backup that day, then they've got backup. The manager will back it up. If not, I may just say, hey, take the day off, But having that structure in place is the differentiator. And a lot of people out there are, I think, I still get hit up by other folks too. And a lot of them are saying, oh, come work with us, but they don't have the hierarchy. They don't have the backup. They don't have the training. They don't have a lot of those things. And I think y'all even have like days where everybody gets together and all these things. I think some people work together. I mean, it's just a different level that gives my people a feel like they're a part of an organization, not just mine, but Outsource Access. She handles our huddle calls for us. So huddle calls are, I don't know if you have those, but when during COVID, we started doing huddle calls 5 days a week to have that kind of water cooler catch up call via online. And we've reduced it down to 2 days a week, but she still runs it. She's there every single time. No, my brokers will miss it left and right, but Emily is on it. Like I'll get on 5 minutes before and she'll be on it. You know, she's ready to go. So she's really just an amazing person, just sweet as can be. So anytime she needs to take off for something personal or has something come up, you know, she's like, hey, can I do this later? I'm like, I don't give a shit when you do it, just do it. It could be tomorrow, next week, you know, just, you know, do it on your time. If you need to do something with your kid, or if there's a problem in your family, or there's a hurricane, you know, because good Lord, they seem to always have natural disasters and electrical things. And she's always good about hitting me on WhatsApp and saying, hey, the power's out. I'll let you know when it's back on. And an hour later, she'll text me, hey, power's back on. I'm back. You know, it's not that I'm having like, where did she go? I wonder what happened to her. She's on it enough to let me know instantaneously, hey, the power's out. Here's what I'm dealing with. And I can just say, no problem. Let me know when it's back. And if it doesn't come back, that's fine, because it's not out of her control. But the fact that she let me know and I didn't have to guess, like, where the hell is Emily? You know, that's what makes it great. But she's come so far. And frankly, you know, I can be tough to work with. I'm not easy. A lot of entrepreneurs can be, you know, tough on people. And Emily is just always sweet and kind and receptive and takes things. And then if she feels like something's wrong, then it makes me always come back and say, hey, you know, here's what you need to do. You know, I should have approached it differently. And she just takes it in stride, and she's always great. So I don't know if I just got lucky with her, or if you guys always, you know, hire good people, but I'm very happy with her. I just pray that she doesn't ever switch and move on, because that happens too. But hopefully there's a playbook in place that can take it over. But even then, the learning curve is tough, and it's so nice to just not have to explain things anymore and just throw them back in that wheelbarrow and let her pick them up and run with them. It's awesome. I'm actually thinking about starting other companies right now that are hand in glove fits with what I do. I'm looking at doing M&A, because I'm already dealing with business owners, and they're already talking to me about selling their business as part of the real estate strategy. So I'm trying to monetize that. I'm thinking about bringing back Salesforce partners, have her use the leads I find plus Zoom Info to get good data to sell to companies. I've looked at trying to bring in residential real estate, because companies move here and their people need houses. So I'm going to partner with a real estate firm to do referrals for residential. And so she's managed to help me think through ideas and strategies to do all that kind of stuff. And so I could keep going. So
hey, man, hey, that's what this is about, folks, being able to hear exact tactical stuff, right? So hopefully anybody that's listening to this, right, you know, Tripp just kind of stream of consciousness, right? I mean, at the end of the day, that's, as a lot of us, you know, as entrepreneurs and business owners, or wherever you kind of sit in the organization, right, you know, different leadership, you know, there's a lot going on in our world more than ever. And with the nature of our world and the complexity of it and all the technology and the tools and the resources is only getting faster and faster. And to keep up, I mean, there's a lot of levers and knobs that you got to kind of manage and pull. And particularly when you're in a sales and relationship driven type of role in business, you know, particularly like you're in, Tripp, like there's a lot that's got to be maintained and managed, you know, along the way. So no, it's fantastic. I appreciate it. And I'd love to make a couple notes and, you know, kind of comment on a few things that you shared there. And, you know, what Tripp was talking about at the very beginning, right, in terms of communication tools. And, you know, I'm proud to say as a company, I mean, you know, we launched in 2019, put our shingle up, you know, Outsource Access, you know, incorporated in the Philippines. And, you know, part of what Tripp's talking about is, you know, in my journey, my last company I had, you know, I started using offshoring, and I worked with a lot of different other companies before I started my own. So I saw what a lot of the failure points were of other organizations out there in terms of, you know, how they hire people, the quality of people, how they manage them, the systems, the processes, the playbooks, the culture, the support infrastructure. So we tried to build, you know, Outsource Access, you know, in a way that addressed those, you know, shortcomings. And, you know, one of those is from a communication standpoint, right? And this is one I was trying to get, you know, Tripp to use kind of the screencasting tools, right? So there's one called Loom, called ScreenPal, and but it basically allows you to record your screen, your voice, and your mouse, right? So it's one of the easiest ways that you can kind of brain dump. Like if you're trying to explain to, you know, someone, you know, one of the VAs to kind of plug in and do your CRM, like with Act that he has, is you can go and record your screen, your voice, and your mouse. When you're done, you click a button, it generates a link, and then you send it to them, and they watch it just like they're watching a YouTube video of you narrating exactly, hey, I want you to go here, click here, do this drop down, and so forth. And that's part of what kind of gets added, you know, to the playbooks, you know, which you were kind of, you know, mentioning. But yeah, as we've grown as an organization, that's part of like what you're sharing is it's you got to meet people where they are, right? In terms of some people have experience. I mean, we've had a client that had up to 85 staff with us. They'd use offshoring and outsourcing. They knew exactly what they wanted. They had the systems, they had the processes. They just wanted us to provide a consistent experience for them to plug into their existing process. others that haven't gone down this journey before, kind of like Tripp and others we've worked with, they want to take advantage of this whole, offshore low cost VA experience, but don't know where to begin with it. And so providing education. And so we certainly come a long way as a company in terms of, we have a whole training that we put clients through to kind of educate them on how to identify. We go through this 2-question exercise to kind of help people identify what their constraint points are. And then tools like Loom and so forth to kind of communicate. And even doing training on industries, right? I mean, to your point, like when it comes to commercial real estate, we've even got industry-based training now. So when we bring staff on, if they're going to be plugging into a certain industry, we'll put them through certain trainings. But, one of the things a lot of people get hung up on in this whole world is like, hey, I need somebody that knows, has 5 years of experience in ACT and 5 years experience in commercial real estate. And they want this like unicorn individual, right, that they couldn't find in the States, much less necessarily in the Philippines. And even though there's a lot of people that have experience in certain elements, but, the whole model we have is about finding people that are fast learners, good communicators, and can take feedback, right? And just like you found with Emily, you get somebody who's willing to learn and embrace and, understand. And it's amazing how quickly that they do learn.
They even helped me do spreadsheets for my daughter's college and help me do personal budgeting spread. Like I cheat and use them for personal stuff too. And I'll be frank, I mean, just the efficiencies and the reactivity and the cost and everything. I'm not sure my company would be where it's at without Outsource Access. I mean, there's a time when I used to text Brad. You can probably pull him up and say, hey, I appreciate everything you've done. I couldn't be here without you guys because I can't afford a full-time person. I don't know if I just spend all my money or what, but the America is so expensive, and I could not do what I've done and build to where I've built without having Outsource Access as a resource. So for me, it's been a blessing that just happened to join EO right when he came up to Charlotte. And honestly, I've really enjoyed the relationship. So thank you again for everything. For me, it's really been beneficial, but personally and professionally.
Oh, I appreciate it. That's, look, at the end of the day, all of it's intermixed, business and personal, especially as entrepreneurs, those two things kind of go hand in hand. And yeah, I mean, it's same, and appreciate all the advocacy you provided kind of in our journey. And yeah, it's navigating those ups and downs. And, and a lot of times, with what we talk about, with what we do, just like what you shared, it's not really about replacing people a lot of times at all, right? I mean, I say 95% of our clients, they didn't replace anybody. I didn't replace anybody. They just augmented, right? Yeah. We're providing what I call like a release valve because, a lot of business owners, they just can't afford what a full-time person would be. It's not that they don't want to hire. They would hire locally. They just can't afford, whatever the 30, 40, 50 grand plus, FICA taxes plus health insurance and so forth. And they need some additional support. And so, we provide a price point, in the function that kind of is that stopgap, because a lot of business owners, they just got to keep wearing more hats or work more hours and so forth, and aren't able to kind of get the resource and support. So I'm glad she was able to provide that that kind of gap for you, and so I was going to ask from an ROI standpoint, kind of what the impact you've seen in terms of efficiency of deal flow happening faster, being able to identify leads and opportunities. I remember that one example you just shared was one that I used to share speaking when I would speak for the SIOR groups. About when articles are being released, I think like you were talking about, right? I mean, the newsletters and stuff that are happening in your local market, like you want to know and have your ear to the ground if there's somebody new moving into town, if somebody's leaving. And then I always use that example is like you'd have them go search that company, go find the LinkedIn profile of the owner, like go reach out to them so that you're on the radar ahead of anybody else in your industry, because it's a long game a lot of times in your industry, right? It's about building a relationship and being top of mind for everybody in that process.
Yep.
That's fantastic, man. And yeah, it's definitely a very resilient, population of individuals in the Philippines in terms of, what they've kind of navigate, but the infrastructure, and it's amazing where the infrastructures come in these countries. I mean, I go back, quite a number of times, and I'm just blown away. I mean, people get a chance to kind of see our office. I mean, it's a state-of-the-art office. When people show the tour of our office in the Philippines, they're blown away, because they don't realize kind of that caliber does exist, And back to the playbooks, by the way, and I was taking a glimpse at your kind of playbook before we hopped on. And so your playbook is 59 pages long, by the way.
Oh, wow. No looms in there, though.
Hey, no, that's why it's 59, probably. A lot of written, but, it's part of what we do. And again, you go down this path, anybody in outsourcing and virtual assistants, highly recommend, right? Always make sure that there's a playbook, right? That everything that they're doing for you is getting documented. And it's one of the big benefits we hear from people, because they've never done any process documentation or playbooks in their own businesses. But for us to be successful and for us to make sure we can provide that redundancy, we demand it, from our staff. And it's something that, you own from day one. But I was looking at it's like 59 pages, and it's got the screenshots and examples of all the kind of things that she does for you, within detail, so that if someone has to support her or back up, or, if there was a transition, if, you need to find another person to kind of replace her, you kind of got that redundancy, in place. So
yeah.
That's been awesome, man. Well, thanks so much. And even sharing, even to the personal level. I mean, I know that's, big impact that's had for me as well, as whether it's researching, where to have kids' birthday parties, or I'm a 5 and 9-year-old. So I'm at that level. At some point, they'll help me with college spreadsheets and so forth. But
it was very helpful for my daughter, and she now works for Ernst & Young, EY. So the college she went to was the right one. She picked well, and the spreadsheet helped her do that. And now she's working for a Big Four accounting firm as a financial consultant. So.
Oh, you know what? I guess we can put on our resume at Outsource Access. We help people get hired for jobs.
There you go. Absolutely.
Well, I appreciate it, man. This has been a perfect episode here of really taking people into what the title is, how outsourcing works. What are these people actually doing, despite being in a different part of the world, in terms of competency, ability, impact. We've heard Tripp share everything from things she's doing, direct communication to deal flow management, to logistics, to RFPs and everything in between. Basically, all those things that could create friction and him being able to move faster and quicker, on a day-to-day kind of basis.
And not even to mention the calendar invites. I'll email a client and they'll say, let's do Thursday at 3, and I'll just copy her on the response, and she just sends an invite within 5 minutes. Like, it's amazing, because otherwise I'd wait a week to send that invite because I'm so busy and my emails get so backed up. I just copy her on it. She takes the client, takes me, copies it, puts the date, and it's good to go. And then it's on my calendar and I can forget about it. And she'll register me for all the EO events through the rest of the year. She registered me already for all those, put them on my calendar so I can forget about it. Because then like I said, I throw it back to her, and then it's just done. And it's just a wonderful feeling that I don't have to worry about it,
Yeah, I mean, it's like somebody riding shotgun with you in life, I mean, it's like having somebody side by side with you, being there in that journey to support you in the path, because there's a lot, and in terms of a lot of the moving parts, and it's only going to get more complicated as things kind of move down the path as we move ahead in life, especially with AI that's coming out there. Yeah, it's my VA. We're on constant chat and tasks, and I can focus on. Somebody calling the other day about, getting our generator service for our whole house generator. It's like, when do I have time to do any of that? So just forward it to her. And then she was able to call using Google Voice, called, coordinated, scheduled it, and, have them kind of showing up to the house to get it nailed down. So it's what I call death by paper cuts in life. Sometimes it's all the little nitpicky things sometimes and now I finally got my wife involved, and we both share a chat with her as well. And so now she's getting to see the real benefit.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks so much, man. I appreciate it. And for anybody,
if you need anything more, let me know. Always happy to help. If you need anything further, let me know. I'm always available.
I appreciate it, man. And so for folks to kind of just recap, sort of if they're in the market of needing your services, kind of recap what you do, and we'll make sure we share, the website for Tripp, trippcommercial.com, but just kind of recap, anybody could use your services.
Yeah, so we help corporate clients with office or industrial space, and we help create leverage, kind of like Lending Tree says, when banks compete, you win. Well, when landlords compete, the tenant wins. So we create competition for tenants against landlords to get the best deals, and use the best deal points of each landlord against the other to create the best deal flow and for the organization. And usually it's about a 10 to 15% savings off of what they would have gotten on their own.
Fantastic. I haven't heard that phrased in that way before. So yeah, everybody check out Tripp Commercial here, and learn more about what Tripp does. And for our takeaway for everybody, if you are wanting to explore the whole world of offshoring and outsourcing and want to begin that journey, and Tripp, this is actually something we've developed even further since I first started, but we call it our 2-question exercise. So if you'll just send an email to tools @outsourceaccess.com and put Tripp, TRIPP, in the subject line, we'll know it kind of came from this episode. We will send you our 2-question exercise template. And I'm telling you, it sounds super simple, but we've done it with startups too. We did it with a $300 million pharmacy that we have 5 staff with now. And every time it generates a tremendous amount of value for people to understand what are their constraints, right? And we'll include in here as well over 700 tasks. We've done over a crazy Tripp. We've done close to 5 million hours worth of work in the last 6 years across 85 different industries: marketing, sales, operations, customer service. So in this document, we'll share with you, if you shoot an email to that tools at outsourceaccess.com, we'll see our list of 700 of the top tasks that we have found that small to medium businesses are outsourcing across marketing, sales, operations, customer service, administration. And just by running through this list, it'll give you a whole set of ideas of things that maybe you could explore. But what we encourage is, like, whether it's you as an individual or if you've got a small team or a company, depending on what the size of your organization is just these two simple questions, right? What are you currently doing that you don't feel is the best use of your time, and how many hours are you spending on it per month? And then what are you things on the radar, right, that you want to be doing, or you think that the company should be doing that you're not getting to due to time, money, or knowledge, right? So it's things you want off your plate and things that you're not getting to. And we'll give you a lot of ways to kind of brainstorm around that in this kind of worksheet. And if you're an organization, I can't tell you, I've seen this with thousands of companies, copy and paste those 2 questions, send it to your staff and say, hey, you got a week. I want you to come back with your answers. You will be amazed. I've had so many CEOs say, Brad, I thought it was too simple. But Jane, who's been with me for 8 years, came back and had 50 things on the list. And I had no idea, right? So it unpacks all these constraints. It's super simple. I got a little instructional video, kind of explain how it works, a bunch of example tasks, a completed example of one of these, of this exercise, and then a blank one that you can kind of go down this journey and explore it as well. And there's a bunch of other links to resources there. So yeah, just send an email to tools@outsourceaccess.com, and we'll send that your way. And you can go visit us at outsourceaccess.com, see a bunch of videos and content, kind of all about our world, and take you behind the scenes. And you can always book a call there with one of our team members and do a free discovery and figure out if we could be a help and support you in your journey. So, well, that concludes this episode, and hopefully everybody got a ton of value. Great, a bunch of specific tactical examples, Tripp, exactly what we're looking for, man. I really, really appreciate it. And continued success in your journey ahead, and look forward next time you're down in the Atlanta area, man.
I will do, my friend. Good talking to you.
Same here, man. Take care.
Take care.